Thank you so much. Could I have now all the imps in a line at the front of the stage, please? And could I have from you the title of a story that you would like to hear but you never have?
Wuthering Heights.
Wuthering Heights. Okay, that's an actual story. But could I have from you maybe a distance? That's a bit of a strange question. Maybe an adjective. An adjective. What? Sorry?
Large.
Large.
Larger.
Larger. Larger. Wonderful. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Now the imps are going to tell you the story of Larger Heights. So instead of Wuthering Heights, Larger Heights. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is no ordinary story, because this story is told via the use of my magic finger. When I point at them, they will tell you the story. When I move my finger to another, they will continue the story flawlessly. And I mean flawlessly, because if I point at them and they're a little slow on the uptake, if I'm pointing at them and they're talking, and then I move my finger away and they carry on talking, if they offend me grammatically, syntactically, metaphorically, grammatically, politically, footballingly, then, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that the punishment is that they die. Oh, yes. And how do they die, ladies and gentlemen? They die through all of us shouting in glorious, bloodlustful unison the word die! Wonderful. So let's please practice that on 3. 1, 2, 3, die! Wonderful bloodlust in the room. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, now let us hear the story of Larger Heights.
The inadequate man looked out at the house across the street from his and thought, there is something wrong with where I live.
My house is not as big as the house across the road. It's much larger in height and in width.
It belongs to the basketball player Shaquille O'Neal. Yes, he was there playing basketball outside, a mighty giant of a...
Man, he's towered 8 feet above the rest of the populace, striking terror
into their hearts, because that would make him about 14 feet.
14 feet! He could barely imagine it in his tiny house.
Which was in fact a bungalow. Therefore, not that surprising that it wasn't as tall as a regular house anyway to begin with, but the 14-foot...
Shaquille O'Neal looked at the inadequate man and went,
ha! Ha! Ha!
I can crush you with my thumb.
And he did! Shaquille O'Neal crushed the man!
With his thumb, which was unfortunate.
Lee, misshapen afterwards.
Oh no, I can never play basketball again!
said Shaquille O'Neal.
The thumb was integral to my skill.
I'll have to get bigger
Shoes!
To wear on my enormous feet!
so that will compensate for my misshapen thumb!
Which is clearly integral to my...
Well-being.
Oh! Stumbled a bit about her well-being, didn't he? Yes, he did a bit. It's a cruel game, ladies and gentlemen. You want him in? Yes! Oh, okay. As they say, the audience is always right. Carry on. O'Neal in a big bungalow, and he squashed this man, crushed him with his thumb. Shaquille O'Neal's thumb is now terribly misshapen. Can I have a title for chapter 2, possibly? How could this story continue?
The reshaping of his thumb?
Yes! That would be logical. So, chapter 2, the reshaping of his thumb.
Shaquille went to see a doctor. The doctor, the finest in all of the land, had a plan. The plan was to take the
Thumb and put titanium implants all over it, encasing it in a heavy metal
Thing. This heavy metal thing, as it is known in the medical profession,
Was very large and...
Very important in basketball.
yes, for in basketball a gigantic thumb can swat
away the
ball
very quickly and
score points! And that's how you score points in basketball, boy!
using a big metal thumb!
For devious ends, which is the
way the game is played! It's clear!
The way the game is played! 1, 2, 3, wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. Now we've got another deck. It always makes me happy. So, can I now have from you a style of literature, please?
Poetry.
Beckett. That we don't have Beckett very often, so I'm going to take Beckett with relish. So, you might have to be the judge of this, sir, but they are now going to continue the story in flawless Beckett. Oh, spectacles.
Request like a PC.
No, Sylvia. We'll see how you do.
So Shaquille waited for the Dr. Goddo for a while.
He waited, thinking about his own death more and more as each day passed.
Will he come? He asked his friend Connor. Probably not. Does anyone ever come in this place? No.
It was at that point that James Brown jumped out of a bin. What were you doing in the bin, James Brown?
I don't really know, said James, and then they all sat on a bench for a while longer, waiting, definitely.
Or death, or
Beckett.
We had a die over there! Do we want him to die? No! Who wants him to die? Shout die! Die! Who wants him to live? Shout die! Die! Shout live! Die! Die! 1, 2, 3, die! Oh, ladies and gentlemen, was that a good enough interpretation of Beckett, sir? Okay.
French and the French.
Okay. Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, now could I have from you an accent of the UK or the world? We've had 2 Liverpudlian requests. Geordie. But we did have 2 Liverpudlian. Oh, Aberdeen. I think I'm going to take Liverpudlian because I heard Liverpudlian twice and everybody else said once. So, now the story will continue in a flawless Liverpudlian accent. So,
And he jumped out, and that were a bit...
A bit crazy like he had a massive titanium thing on his thumb. He was swatting the player aside.
like he was Stevie G. He liked basketball.
Like he was Stevie G, it was weird. It was well weird.
Who thought Laurie's was the worst? No. Jamie's was the worst? Yeah. Who thought Sylvia's was the worst? Yeah. 2, 3, die! So, ladies and gentlemen, we've now come to our penultimate chapter, our denouement, if you will. So, could I have from you now a commonly used letter of the alphabet?
E.
We heard A down there.
E.
Oh, we'll take A and you'll see why. We won't take Z because now the story has to be continued without using the letter A. Will it be done? Probably not. But so, ladies and gentlemen, can I also have from you a chapter title for this denouement chapter?
The death of Shaquille O'Neal.
The what, say?
The death of Shaquille O'Neal.
The death of Shaquille O'Neal. So it's a tragic story. Right. The death of Shaquille O'Neal without using the letter A.
The guy who did the sport
Went to the court of the sport.
where he did it for long
Times, including
periods where he won trophies,
cups, other things.
of ilks similar were made.
1, 2, 3, die! Virginia winner! So, Jamie can have the letter A back. And now Jamie will wrap up all the disparate loose threads of the story. And but remember, Shaquille O'Neal still has to die because the chapter title is Death.
So Shaquille O'Neal had played basketball at the court for many periods of long times. And after a while he started to get tired. The heavy titanium thumb was getting heavier and heavier as he sweat into it. One day he was playing and the thumb just stuck to the floor and he couldn't move. And because he was so large, nobody could take him back to his larger heighted house. He starved on the basketball court. And to that day, the basketball court is not used as anything but his tomb. And that is why you should not crush small-minded men with small houses. The end!